and today will be conducting a comprehensive strategic assessment of the Canadian economy as of April 2026. Canada currently finds itself it's a critical junction balancing its traditional identify as a resource powerhouse with a presenting needs structural modernization. In this presentation, we will analyze Canada's current macroeconomic indicator, apply core economic theories like sector and comparative advantages, and evaluate how international trade politics are shaping the nation's trajectory towards 2031. Our goal is to understand how Canada is navigating a low growth, high complexity environment. Slide 2. Introduction to Canada. To begin, let's look at the macroeconomic. Canada remains a vital member of the G7, characterized by its vast natural resource wealth and a highly educated workforce. However, its narrative for 2026 is one of the cautious stabilization. GDP forecast. Current projection of 2026 place of real GDP growth between 1.1% and 1.8%. While this indicates a soft landing following the most pandemic inflex- inflationary period, the resource engine, the econ- economy continues to be anchored by the energy, mining, and agriculture sectors, which provides a buffer against global volatility but also expose the nation of commodity price cycle. As we analyze these figures, the core question on the whether this modest growth is significant to maintain the Canadian standard of living uh, amidst rising global competition. Slide 3. Economic challenges. Despite the stability of the G7 framework, Canada is facing what a policy experts call a productivity emergency. This is the most significant structural headwind we currently face. The productivity gap. This is currently a 26% productivity gap in a labor output per hour compared to the United States. The discrepancy stems from decades of underinvestment in machinery, equipment, and the housing crisis. On the social economic front, the Canada's housing supply remains severely contained. Three. Housing crisis. The housing crisis. On the social economic front, Canada's housing supply remains severely contained to resource affordability. The CMHC estimates we need a build approximately 480,000 homes per year through 2023 target we are currently struggling to hit due to labor shortage and zoning bottlenecks. Interest rates. In response to stability inflation, the Bank of Canada has normalized interest rates of approximately 2.2%
আমার দিকে তাকাইয়া পড়ো,
25%.
তুমি কি রিডিং করতেছো?
The provides না এরকম কেমনি রে ভাই? The provides some relief for mortgage holders but remains high enough to keep capital costs significant for business expansion. Slide 4. Economic theory. Why does Canada trade the way it does? We can explain the using share O'Hill HO model. The HO model suggests that countries will export goods that make intensive use the abundant factor of production. Canada possesses a clear comparative advantage in resource extractive industries because we have an abundance of natural resources and the technology of extract them. We can produce these goods at a lower opportunity cost than our trading partners. Slide 5. International trade politics. Yes. The year 2026 is a milestone for Canadian trade policy due to the USMCA review. The joint review clause requires Canada, the USA, and Mexico to confirm their commitment to the agreement. Canada's strategy focuses on presenting our motivative and dairy sector while ensuring North America content. Critical minerals sovereign in fund. To de-risk the energy transition, Canada has leveraged a sovereign fund to develop the Ring of Fire and other mineral-rich zones. FLMF, Foreign Labor Mobility Framework, to address the labor shortage mentioned in the housing slide. Canada is utilizing the FLMF to stemming the entry of skilled tradespeople. Slide 6. Impact of trade politics. The result of this politics show a double-edged sword in our trade profile. Our integration with the United States has reached a historic peak, with 75% of all Canadian exports designed for American markets. While this provides a massive stable market, it creates a asymmetric depends- dependency. However, the value of our resource export remained robust in the last fiscal cycle. Resources led export contributed 153 million US dollars to the Canadian economy. The revenue is a primary driver of our trade surplus and provides the tax base necessary to fund our social programs. Slide 7. Sustainability outlook. Looking ahead to 2031, the outlook of mix is fiscal discipline and structural risks. On the positive slide, Canada maintained a highly favorable debt to GDP ratio of 42%. This is among the lowest in the G7, giving the federal government fiscal firepower to invest in the green transition or respond to future shock. However, if we do not close the 26% productivity gap, we reach a period of secular stagnation. The energy transition presents a massive opportunity. If Canada can successfully pivot from traditional oil to hydronic and critical minerals, we can sustain our export value. But this requires a shift with a resource extension to a resource innovation mindset over the next 5 years. Slide 8. Conclusion. Reliances and structural challenges. In summary, the Canadian economy in 2026 is defined the reliances and its rigidity. We are resilient because of our 153 billion resource sector and our stable 42% debate to GDP ratio. We are rigid because of our chronic productivity underperformance and an acute housing shortage that threatens to dampen labor mobility and consumer spending. The path forward of Canada involves three pillars. One, successfully navigation the USMCA
Oh,
2026 review to meeting the 480,000 home annual housing target. Three, incentivizing capital investment to close the productivity gap. If we achieve this, the 1.8% growth forecast would become a flavor floor rather than a ceiling. Thank you for your time. Stop.
okay, bye, bye, bye.
হয়েছে?